This is Randy White, and I am on the fabulous show Real Estate Lab that has been put together by Ian and JJ, and they have been so kind as to invite me to be a recurring member on the show, and I'm so excited for that opportunity. So for my first show to host, I chose the really exciting topic of property taxes because we're all freaking out about it right now. Very relevant. So I went out and searched for a property tax protesting company that'd be willing to talk to us about this very scary problem that we have. And I figured we'd kind of shoot the shit a little bit and complain and, ask like, what do you think we should do? But then I came across a really neat company that would do more than that for us today. They are going to actually help describe a really neat platform that they have put together that allows residents to protest the property taxes on their own, save money, learn what's going on, and really dive into getting control of this situation. So today I have Peter Grabowski with protestingpropertytaxes.com. And if you could kick us off, Peter, and introduce yourself, tell us what your day job is, and also tell us how you got involved with property tax protesting.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. First off, thank you all so much for having me on the show. I'm thrilled to be here. So I can tell a little bit about protestingpropertytaxes.com. It's a website that a few friends and I put together to try to help folks tackle exactly the problem you just raised. You get your property tax bill. If you're in Austin, there's likely a huge increase. What do you do? You also asked about my day job. So I work full-time as a software manager at Google in Austin. I run the enterprise machine learning team in Austin, so helping folks all across Google make better use of machine learning. I also teach, and so I'm an adjunct professor at Berkeley University, teaching their master's in data science program.
Wow, you're busy.
So you know numbers, you know data,
more of that.
You understand taxes. That's good.
So how did you, getting involved in all of that, how did you move into this idea and come up with the protestingpropertytaxes.com platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. I moved to Austin back in 2017 when my wife was starting her PhD at UT. We bought a home in Austin, a beautiful house, and I just 4 months after we bought our home, I got our property tax bill, and I think it was for 40% higher than we had paid for it just a few months ago. And so I figured either I must be the Warren Buffett of Austin real estate and made the single best real estate investment that anyone's ever made, or there might be something else going on to it. And so that's when we started digging into what the property tax process was like. How do folks do the evaluations? What does a fair property tax valuation mean? It's something that I've got a little bit of background in. And so I was able to take some of the stats knowledge and some of the machine learning knowledge and think about how do we tackle this problem? How do we look at what the law describes as the process for fair property taxes and make sure that everybody can take advantage of that?
Wow.
So just in case people don't know, I'm curious, how many people have you worked with? This is kind of a question for all of us. How many people have you worked with that didn't know that you can protest your property taxes?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. We've worked with thousands of folks overall. There's definitely some folks who are surprised, and it was definitely surprising to me when I moved down because it didn't feel like, I don't know, it felt like the normal taxes or kind of government taxes. You've got a tax rate. This is what you pay. That's how it works. Property taxes, there's a really interesting part of the law that says they should be fair and equitable. And so if you believe your taxes aren't fair and equitable, you've got a right to protest, which was totally news to me. It's news to a lot of our customers as well. So we find that part of the work that we do is surrounding education. It's helping folks learn that they can protest. And in fact, they should protest.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of people tend to avoid protesting because they feel like they're just going to give it away with the fees that they would pay out for a traditional, tax protesting company. So maybe if you could dive into the direct comparison of doing that route with a property protester, but then also considering maybe doing what you offer.
Yeah, that's a great question. Totally sympathetic to that concern. It's part of the reason I decided not to go with a direct company 4 years ago now. So the traditional structure is to either pay a fee or to pay a commission or a contingency. In some cases, both. That's because it can be, if humans are working through the process, it can be a very manual and time-consuming process. And so the companies understandably want to make sure that they get their money's worth. that if they're going to spend the time helping you protest, that they can recover the time that they need to have humans digging through the numbers and doing comparisons. On our end, we offer just a flat fee. So we've got two pricing options, either a $99 a year subscription offer or $170 for a one-off report. But we can be a lot more efficient. So one of the things we realized is that coming up with a set of comparable homes is a really great data science problem. I just ran the math before we got here. I want to make sure that I get this right. There are 1 quindecillion combinations of homes that you could pick to generate a set of homes. And I had never even heard that number before.
I don't know how many zeros that is.
I wonder if you spoke English. Like what?
Yeah, no, I had to look it up before I came on the show just to be sure. But if you've got that many different possible ways to pick out homes to compare yours to, that's not something a human can be good at. That's why it's so expensive to get humans to do it. And even when they do it, it's a really rough approximation. Fortunately, that's something that computers are great at. And so that's where we've spent a lot of our time is thinking about how do we get a computer to go pick out the best set of comparable homes for your specific house that's going to make sure that you're paying the most fair property taxes that you can.
Okay.
Brandy and JJ,
okay.
I'm just curious, when you have your clients or you do your own property taxes, aren't you normally seeing that the company takes a percentage that you save?
Yeah.
Isn't that normally how they operate?
Is the more affordable way. Yeah, because otherwise there's a percentage.
Yes.
If they save. I'm curious, how do people learn? Like, do you show them an example? Like,
yeah, because that's a good question, JJ, because I was thinking like it's still the easiest thing to call somebody up and say, here's my address, solve that problem for me. But then you're going to pay that fee, but then they're going to go behind the curtain and do the thing. So, but here's an option to save some money, do some legwork on your own. And we would love to hear, Peter, what that process is. What JJ
that's a great question. There's 100% the option to do the process yourself. And it can be either as straightforward or as involved as you would like it to be. Some folks want it to be one and done. And so the counties that we work in offer an affidavit process. So all that you have to do is give us your address. We give you a report. You get an affidavit for that case. And there's all kinds of great online notaries that we can connect you to help with that. You submit it to the county, and that's it. They review, and you can accept their offer or not. There's also for folks, and some folks do really like getting to see what the process is like. If you want to go talk to an agent, you can go talk to an agent from the county about the houses that we picked. We give you all of the information that you need in the report to be able to have a good conversation with them about it. And we found that they're very open to the approach that we take. And we give you, regardless of whether or not you use our site or not, we host guides for each of the counties that we operate in that describe what the process is like. So where to click on the website, what forms you need to submit. Ideally, the process shouldn't take much more than half an hour if you're working through it with our guide.
More than half an hour? That's for the people that are choosing to not go do the march down there and talk about it, right? They just want to submit the report and be done with it.
Exactly right.
So we had a question come in. Randy, do you want to read this?
Is it still a good time to buy with rates going up so fast?
So just kind of anybody who's listening, we read them out loud because if you're listening on Google Podcasts or Amazon, Spotify, any of that, then you can tell what the questions are. Can we retool this for the realtors in the room? Can we, instead of say, is it a good time to buy with rates going up so fast? Is it a good time to buy knowing that our taxes are going to be so much more in the future?
All types of rates are going up.
The rates going up so fast for interest rates, we're reaching the 5 to 6% space. And that was what we were all used to begin with. The 2 to 3% was an anomaly, and that was incredible. And, if you got it, that's great. Purchasing at 5 to 6% is a reasonable place to be. And yes, if you can still become a homeowner with that rate, depending on whatever your numbers will come back at, I absolutely encourage you to do so, because we do have an inflation issue. And one way to push against that is to lock in a home price, because your rent will just go up with the inflation as we continue on this awesome road that we're on.
And not to have too much of a property tax central focus on this, but one of the ways that we've seen folks bring their mortgage down is by reducing their tax burden. So if you're escrowing your property taxes, it doesn't matter whether it's your mortgage rate or the property taxes or your homeowner's insurance, whatever it is, a reduction is a reduction. So protesting your taxes can be a great way to bring down that mortgage payment as well.
Yes, I know Williamson County got their property taxes released, and that like everybody's seeing 40 to 60% jump across the board. So let's see, with the other protest services typically taking that 30 to 50% commission that we were talking about earlier, how are you guys able to do it for just the $99?
Yeah, that's a great question. Part of the reason that we're able to do it is we're a lot more efficient. And so instead of having a human trying to guess, okay, which 10 homes should I compare to? We spent a bunch of time working on a software to help do that for us, and then software to help generate the report. We still have humans in the process. We've got a licensed property tax consultant who reviews each and every report that we send out. So it's there's absolutely still a human in the loop, but we're able to be a lot more efficient in our approach. So our property tax consultants probably review many more times, or can be much more efficient than the human process at other companies. You can also do it hopefully worry-free. And so if the process doesn't work for you, we've got a money back guarantee, where you can all that you have to do is reach out to us and let us know it didn't work out for you, and we'll happily refund.
Ah, that's a good thing to know.
That's awesome. JJ and Randy, I'm just curious, have you had anybody reach out to you to sell because their taxes are getting too high?
I haven't had that specific reason. There's always lots of hearsay about that, of people saying, oh, my property taxes are getting to be too high, and they just want to leave. But I think it's almost just another reason on top of other ones as so much change is happening to Austin. It's just another drop in the bucket for them as far as that. But I think we're only on year 2, honestly, of experiencing these drastic changes too. So we'll have to see. That's my opinion. What do you think, JJ?
I'm with you on that. It's a layered question. Generally, the tax does come up because, generally speaking, we're a high property tax state, but for other reasons, like income tax, we're beneficial. So it does all add up and play into it. So it's partly prices and taxes. It's a double whammy. Interest rates, throw that in there.
And then, so something that I realized too was, a lot of probably, back in old fashioned times, you would come to your realtor and say, can you get me some comps, some comparable properties to use to protest my taxes? And it's like, yes, I can, but actually it's still not favorable to the person, to the homeowner, because I think from what I understood and what I read about on your platform, that each county has different, parameters of what they're using of what can be considered a comparable property. And so you have to actually be very knowledgeable, which probably is another reason for the high commissions from the tax protesting companies, is because they have all of that knowledge and they go through and they make sure to apply all of those filters. So you have this platform that you've built, you've dived into each county's parameters, and boom, you're able to supply the correct comparable properties that will actually benefit in the tax protesting process. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the things that we've seen is exactly that. Apologies if you hear my dogs in the background. Different counties care about things in different ways. Where Austin can be super dense, Travis County is really looking for comps that are close geographically to your home. If other counties, we're in 7 different counties, other different counties have varying levels of density, so they might be willing to look at comps a little bit further out. And so we've got that baked into the process. You can have confidence in the reports as you're working through it. We've also partnered with real estate professionals. So we partnered with Bob and Melinda McKenna from Austin Real Estate Partners, who have been really wonderful partners in helping us make sure that we're picking up on all of those local nuances. If you know about them, you can make sure the software is accounting for them. But the real estate expertise that Bob and Melinda bring to bear, super helpful in the process, and we can bake that right into the software.
That's perfect. Yes, I do want to make sure to mention them because I do know that they've been a really crucial part to this whole idea really taking off. So, how did you meet them? Let's make sure to give them some airtime here.
Yeah, 100%. We did a cold reach out. So we looked at some of the great real estate professionals in Austin, met with a whole bunch of different folks to see who might be interested in partnering with this. Credit to Bob and Melinda, they got it right from the get-go. Awesome. They've been doing real estate for a long time, but Bob also had done some work in technology before, and so he saw the value, and he saw how technology could help people pay more fair taxes in Austin. Was passionate about the space, and we're really grateful for their partnership.
Do you have room for more partners?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We should talk. That's a great question.
A good realtor is paying attention to not just your home purchase, but also everything that comes afterwards in the home ownership process. So really hats off to those guys for seeing the value in what you're providing and helping you get it off the ground. Question about homestead exemptions. We just closed on our home, and I believe our property will be assessed for land only for the rest of the year. If so, would I or should I still apply now? This is a question from John S. on YouTube. Do you have an answer for us on that, Peter, by chance?
Yeah, I would be happy to provide some context. I am not a licensed property tax consultant, so I cannot officially give advice, but I can talk about things that we've seen. The process is that your home is evaluated based on what it looks like as of January 1st of that tax year. And so that's important for things like this, where if there wasn't a home on your property on January 1st, that's what you'll be assessed at. It's also important, and one thing that property tax companies frequently miss is that even if your home is worth more now because home values are going up in Austin, it's important to backdate or timestamp your calculation back to January 1st. And so your home assessment is not what you would pay today. Your home assessment is what the home would have been worth backdated to January 1st. And so hopefully that helps with that question there.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So, and just for anybody that doesn't know, in Texas, when you move to Texas, your payment, what you paid for the house, is not disclosed. Okay. So because of that, then you just need to understand that the counties are essentially guessing based on the other houses that have sold. And so what Peter's saying is that we calculate it for you for a small fee, a lot less than you'd pay anywhere else, and quickly. That's awesome.
So for homes, somebody who purchases $1 million house, that's how much they paid for it, but that's not going to be disclosed. So that's private. And then, but the home was previously owned for 15, 20 years and has this amazingly low value on the tax records because of previous exemptions. So it's at like 650. Can the new owner expect for those values to significantly jump when that old homeowner's exemptions are removed and the home has been sold? What do you see in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the value should not be disclosed, and so the county shouldn't know that you are paying or that you paid $1 million for it. Frequently the county, and I can only speculate about what their actual process looks like, but frequently they do look to see if the deed has changed or things like that. You should absolutely make sure that you're applying for a homeowner's exemption in that case if it's your primary residence. And I think that can be a really important time to protest because once that value goes up, it becomes the baseline for future years. And so sometimes the process can appear as if the county is, some counties may not send out an assessor to each home. Frequently, I think what the process feels like what they're doing is looking at what the overall tax base was, looking at what it needs to be for the next year, and then just figuring out, okay, if we distribute this evenly over homes, what would the raise look like? Which is it makes sense for an aggregate approach for it, but it probably doesn't capture the nuance of your particular home. So in that case, that was part of the reason why we wanted to protest right after we bought our place was we saw a really big spike and thought this can't be the case. Okay.
Pam Shadell says, good point. I think she was talking about John's question. Just super quick. So Pam is in the Chicagoland area. Do you only work Texas?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, we are only in Texas. There are other states that have a similar dynamic. I think from the research we've done, Illinois has some of the similar dynamics surrounding property tax protesting, but we're not in Illinois now.
What can you go through your list of counties that you serve again? I think you did it at the beginning of the video, but maybe people will be listening a little bit closer this time of
Sure,
who you're
sure.
serving.
Happy to. And let's see if I get my Texas pronunciation correct. We've got Bayer, Fort Bend, Harris, Hayes, Montgomery, Travis, and Williamson.
Okay. Sounds like Houston and Austin to me. Is that about right? Okay.
Houston, Austin, and San Antonio, I think.
It's in San Antonio. Okay. So do you think that homeowners should protest every year? Oh, well, we'll go. I'm sorry. Answer my question first, and then we'll go back to that one.
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and it's related to the question that we got. The answer is absolutely. And so you lose nothing by protesting every year. It can help to keep your values down, and even if you do have a homestead exemption, there's a difference between the assessed value and the appraised value, and that becomes the future basis. Even though the assessed value can only increase 10% every year with a homeowner's exemption, the appraised value can keep climbing up, and that it's like a rubber band, or it's like a spring that's pulling your assessed value towards that every year. And so protesting every year helps to keep those values low. There's also a community effect that you see as well, which is why one of our missions is to make these reports available to everybody, where if you protest every year, but one of your neighbors doesn't protest, their higher value home becomes a comparable that folks can use in saying that your home should be higher. And so that's why we take a little bit different approach to some of the companies that charge more. Is we think this should be available to everybody because it's a community effect, it's a network effect that helps to keep taxes fair for everybody. And worth noting on that point before I forget, we also offer free reports to low-income homeowners that might not be able to afford other services. Because we're able to produce the reports so efficiently and so effectively, we can offer free services to these folks. So by all means, if you think you might be in that bucket, take a look at the site. Feel free to reach out. Everybody can get a free assessment of how much you might save, and then we also offer free reports for low-income homeowners. It's the same idea. The property tax has become one of the ways that people can be displaced from their homes in Texas. And so we're very happy to try to help those folks where we can.
And your new realtor partners and their clients at the real estate lab.
Them too.
Yes. So we have a bunch of questions that are coming in. Do you think we can rapid fire those, Randy?
Let's do it. Okay. Should one always protest when in the first year of your new home? I think we kind of touched on that a little bit. Do you have anything additional to say?
Yeah, no, I would say that falls into the group of you should protest every year.
Every year.
I'm going to France next week, so I'm gonna see if I can say that. La Solvamo. Tell me if that's right. Okay, so then here we go.
So Pamela Shadell, we're considering relocating to Texas in about a year. Please do so and contact any of us whenever you do that.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people saying, don't California my Texas. Forget all that. Texas people welcome other people, period. In the discussion.
Okay, Cindy Mail, and I'm sorry if I didn't get that last name right. I purchased my home on 12/28. It has been assessed for $12,000 more than I paid for it. Is it worth it to protest?
Yeah, I can take a quick stab at that one. The answer is yes. One of the things that we do in generating reports is we've partnered with some of the MLSs to get a copy of sales data. And so if we can see that you purchased it and it's worth, you paid less than what it was assessed for, we will tell you that, and we'll say you could pay us for a report, but one of the most effective ways that you can do is just send the county your bill of sale. And if you do that, that's perhaps the most effective protest option you have. Depending on the overvalue of your home, you might be able to reduce the burden even further than the $12,000. But it's a super clean protest to say, here's what I actually paid for it. This is a real market value. Please lower my taxes.
How much do you think people tend to save when they protest taxes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're still working through the numbers from last year, but the year prior, I think homeowners saved on average 13%.
Awesome.
Is that your company or the protesters?
We only have data from our company.
Your company, okay. It's a good stat.
Okay, I'm going to try to say this name now. Lou Solomon. Is there any reason why one would prefer the assessed value to be higher?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the reasons that folks frequently worry about protesting is they're worried it'll negatively affect the value of their home. And that's not the case at all. You all probably know better than me, but there's quite a bit of activity in the Austin real estate market right now. And it's not, I don't think anybody would ever go and check the tax value and say, oh, I actually want to pay this for your home. If they did say that, my suspicion is that might be someone with a more fair offer that comes in. And so because of this equal and uniform comps rule, because taxes should be assessed fairly, there's a difference between the county's assessment of your home and the market value of your home.
Mm-hmm.
They can intersect. You can use market value as a way to protest your property, but there's also frequently what we do is look at the assessed value, and so that's all within the county space. What we found, or I can speak personally, one of the things that was attractive for homes that we were looking at is if the actual tax value was lower than what we were planning on paying for it, because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, your mortgage is going to be less.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can make it even more attractive for someone looking to buy your home.
It helps you qualify for the house too. If you're struggling to get to qualify for that home purchase, the lower taxes certainly help. Do you want to try to get one more question in, Ian, before we?
Yeah. So we have a few. So let's see. We have.
Okay.
This is just a comment, but it's a good one.
Dinosaur D says, if you know the sales in your area have been significantly higher than what you paid for the house 2 to 3 years earlier, will this report still be beneficial?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So one of the first things we do is we check and see what value we think we should be paying for, we think you should be paying for your home. And if it's lower, we'll tell you, and we won't charge you. And so everybody can get a free assessment of where we think we could generate a report that might be helpful for you. And we definitely tell folks every year, somehow you're getting a great value on your property taxes. I wouldn't protest if I were you. Don't rock the boat. So there's no harm in checking, and we'll tell you if we don't think we can help you.
Can I take a stab back at this one real quick?
Yeah.
One reason is if you're a seller and you're trying to sell your house and the value is higher, it makes it easier for a buyer to be able to afford your house. I'm not saying you adjust it in any way, and that's usually years down the line. But if you have a higher, if you have a higher value, then you can justify a higher price. Oftentimes, that's it. I'm not, if it's off market, nobody wants to pay more taxes. Is all I'm saying.
I feel like the philosophy of everything that you've been describing about what you offer is basically you're just trying to help, because you're offering the service for free to people under a certain income amount, which is just incredible. You're providing a free report up front to let them know whether it's worth it to even engage in the process in the first place. And then if they go through the process and it didn't even work out, you're giving them a money back guarantee. Is that right? And so then the last thing that I really like, which I want to make sure everybody is aware of, is that you can do just one time with them for $179.
Yeah.
Or you can sign up for the yearly subscription, which is $99 a year, which I really like that part too, because I'm already so overwhelmed with everything else I got to do in my life. I would like to just press play and have my report come in and be like, oh, that's right. Thank you. I need to protest my property taxes. Well, so should we try to get one more question in? This may be a noob question. This is from Lucy Lebon again. How does one and how difficult is it to protest?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll try to answer it quickly. The steps are vary from county to county, but we have county specific guides for each step along the way for each county that we're in. And you should feel free to use those whether or not you ultimately decide to get a report from us. The process is usually get a report from us, fill out the affidavit form from the county, submit it, depending on whether you want to take the in-person route or the affidavit route. If you're doing the in-person route, all that you have to do is submit the form and wait for the county to contact you. If you're doing the affidavit route, there's one additional government form that you have to fill out, but then you're done.
Sergi says, I got 99 problems, but taxes ain't one. Well, I wish I could sing that song.
I was expecting you to rap.
I
wanted to
think
hear
that, oh my gosh, y'all don't want that. Okay, I think that's going to close up our fantastic interview today with Peter Grabowski. He is with protestingpropertytaxes.com. Do you recommend that be the place that people know to go if they want to get more information from you, Peter, or do you have another place that you want to drive them to?
Yeah, no, protestingpropertytaxes.com is perfect. You can get our customer support line there. You can get our customer support email. You can sign up for a free report. So I would encourage everyone to check it out.
You can also reach out to his new partners at the Real Estate Lab.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure to connect you with him too.
I feel like the service that you're going to receive if you contact them is going to be very similar to the way that Peter handled this interview today. Super helpful, very knowledgeable, and very informative. And I really appreciate your time with us, Peter. This is really great. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Peter.